Everything is negotiable. Regardless of what the job description says, regardless of what industry you're in, regardless if they say this is not negotiable, everything is negotiable. And here's why. When you are the top candidate, the ball is in your court, and you can ask for whatever you want. Let me be clear. It doesn't mean you're going to get it, but it does mean that you can position your expertise as a non-negotiable. And when you are the top candidate, you can ask for anything that you want. I'm really proud to share that my mentees are able to successfully negotiate all kinds of things in their employment contracts. And I'm really proud to have helped women earn more money, have more benefits, have more access, have more flexibility when they're working with me and they're successfully negotiating job offers. So today I'm going to be talking to you about how to properly negotiate and the things that my mentees have been able to successfully negotiate through working with me. I'm Ashley. I'm the lead mentor with Mentor Me, and I'm so excited to talk to you about how to properly negotiate to get everything that you want out of a job position. So we're going to talk about this in some stages, and I also want to set the stage for when you negotiate as well. So when it comes to negotiation, too often people are trying to negotiate, as soon as they see the job posting or before they ever have an interview or before they ever talk to a hiring manager or an HR team. The appropriate time to negotiate is after you get the job offer. That's when you're going to have the most leverage. It's important that you negotiate once you know that the organization wants you and you alone. Once you have gone, you've applied for the job, you've gone on interviews, they let you know that you're the top candidate. That's when it's time to start negotiating and having a serious conversation with the organization about how they can keep you or get you as the top candidate. You never want to negotiate, while you're in interviews. You don't want to negotiate when you're talking to, a recruiter or someone who doesn't work for the organization. You always want to negotiate once you've received the job offer, once they made it clear that you're their top candidate and they want to work with you. Again, this is when you have the most leverage. This is when, it can be clear to you and within the organization that you are the prize, right? So you always want to negotiate when you're clear that you're the prize. So once you've established that, once that you're the top candidate, once they've given you that job offer, that's when you can begin to negotiate. And it's important to, when you receive that job offer, right? I always tell my mentees that it's important that you get that job offer in hand, that you get it on paper or in an email, right? You want to have a firm job offer in the form of a letter or in the form of a written email that very clearly describes that you are the top candidate for this specific job, and you want it to describe what the salary is and any associated benefits. That way you're negotiating from a very firm place. You don't want to negotiate from a verbal job offer and then you don't have all the details in front of you, and then you're asking for things that were never a part of the job offer that aren't included. You always want to negotiate after you get a firm job offer in writing or in email, something that's documented, right? I think that when it comes to negotiating, lots of times people will, tell me, Ashley, I want to be able to negotiate the salary. I want to be able to negotiate the salary. And of course, I teach my mentees how to successfully negotiate salary, but there's so many other things that you should be negotiating in every job offer. In general, I tell my mentees that they should be negotiating between 7 and 15 factors of every job offer that they receive, right? So of course, you want to negotiate the salary. And typically my mentee sees anywhere between an 8 and 15% salary increase on the base salary when they negotiate, right? So you can typically, they see between, like I said, 8 and 15% when they negotiate. So this is important to note because a lot of times people will apply for jobs that are well beneath their salary expectations, and then they're like, well, I'm just going to negotiate up. And it doesn't work like that. Of course, you can successfully negotiate a higher level salary, but the increase is typically most successfully only between 8 and 15%. So if a job is paying you, if the baseline of the job, right, it's a job posted and it's paying you $20, $25, $30, $50,000 less than what you want want to make, do not apply for the job, right? Because it's going to be so challenging for you to successfully negotiate to a higher salary level. Of course, yes, you know, my mentees regularly successfully negotiate to a higher level. Like I said, on average, that's between 8 and 15% on the base offer. But I do not want you, you know, trying to negotiate $20, $30, $50,000 on the base salary, because you're likely not going to be successful. And if anything, you're just going to be disappointed. So what I encourage you to do is identify roles that are aligned with your expertise and that are going to pay you the value of that expertise at the jump, so that when you are negotiating a salary, you're negotiating above and beyond what you already expected to be paid, right? You want to negotiate above and beyond what you already expected to be paid. So we're going to talk more about negotiating salary here in a moment, but I just want to talk to you about the other things that you should be negotiating. Again, when it comes to negotiations, people are always thinking about salary, which is great. We always want to make more money, but we want to make sure that we're negotiating some of those non-tangible benefits, because those are critical to the way we experience the job and the way we experience work as well. So some other things that I've helped my mentees successfully negotiate are bonuses, benefits, work modality, whether you're on site, hybrid, remote, professional development, promotional structure, job classification, whether it's contract, full-time employee, etc. Right? So it's not just about negotiating the salary. You want to negotiate every aspect of that job so that you make sure you get the most comprehensive package you can possibly get. So let's go into more detail. So number one, let's talk about salary, right? That's the thing that's on most people's minds. Let's talk about how to successfully negotiate a salary. So again, you only want to apply for jobs that are going to pay you the value of your expertise prior to negotiation. Do not go into a job thinking, oh, well, you know, this job, you know, I like this job, but it ain't gonna pay me what I want, but maybe I'll negotiate to the higher level. No, of course you're gonna negotiate to the higher level, and I'm gonna teach you how, right? But I want to make sure that going in, the baseline salary is something you would be willing to accept. And we're going to talk about the numbers of which, you know, how like that goes, like how often employers will say yes to what you negotiate a little later, but you always want to go in with that baseline salary intact, right? So then when you get the job offer, you want to package all of the things that you're going to negotiate in a single letter, in a single document, right? And I'm going to walk you through the script for that document as well. But again, when it comes to salary, typically where my mentees see the most success, meaning they get a yes, it's typically going to be somewhere between 8 and 15% on the base offer. So let's just do a little math, right? Let's say that you are applying for a job that is going to pay you $100,000, right? Like that's the baseline salary. It's the job is $100,000. Typically where my mentees see the most success is between 8 and 15% on the base offer, which means that, you know, where they see the most success is they're going to ask for a 15% increase on the base salary, which is going to be $15,000. So their base salary would be $115,000, and the initial offer was $100,000, right? Of course, some of my mentees are able to negotiate higher than that. Some of my mentees negotiate a little bit lower than that. But typically, where they get an easy yes, like the employer's like, yeah, of course, sure, it's 15. You know, at the top 15%. So again, if you are wanting to make $150,000 a year, and you know their base salary offer is $100,000, then that's probably not a job that you want to apply to, right? Because it's going to be challenging for you to negotiate an additional 50%, right, on the base salary, right? But you can, of course, successfully, where my mentees see the most success is somewhere between 8 and 15%. Everything is negotiable. You always negotiate, regardless of what anybody tells you, regardless of what the hiring manager says, regardless of what the HR manager says. You always negotiate. We're always going to do that negotiation in writing, because even if they say no, right, and that's available to them, they can absolutely say no, they might turn us down, we still want to negotiate. We still want to make the ask, so it's documented that we asked for more than what the initial offer was. Always make the ask, right? And like, you know, as you think back on your salary, right, you probably could have used the extra $15,000 annually, right? You could have maybe used the extra $20,000 or $25,000 annually. So not making the ask is leaving money on the table. We always want to make the ask. All right. So the second thing that I invite my mentees to negotiate is bonuses. And, not every organization has a bonus structure, right? Not every organization has that, but that's definitely something you can ask for, especially if you work in a role that's sales driven, if you work in a role that's client facing, if you work in a role that is focused on retention or graduation of clients or students or something like that. If you have a hardcore outline that is clearly outlined in your role, and it's measurable, it's quantifiable, and you're measured by that, then you can absolutely ask for a bonus when you meet and exceed expectations, right? So, again, for example, if you work in a job that is about client retention, and you need to keep your current client base, and you need to get 10% more clients, but for the end of the year, and that's the expectation. If you get 10%, you can negotiate in your initial contract. If you hit the goal, then you get a 10% bonus. Or if you exceed the goal by 5%, then you get a 20% bonus, right? You can ask for a bonus at the time of the job offer. Again, this is something that you don't want to wait for until you hit the metric and then you're like, well, I hit it, so I want a salary increase or I want a bonus. No, you want to write the bonus or the request for the bonus in the initial job offer. You want to negotiate that up front so that you can, get that on the back end, right? So you can get that once you meet and exceed those expectations again, right? So we talked about successfully negotiating salary. We talked about successfully negotiating bonuses. Let's talk about benefits, right? This is one of my favorite things to negotiate. A lot of organizations, a lot of companies have a standard benefits package, right? They're going to give you health, dental, vision, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you can negotiate anything in there. You can ask for more. You can ask for something different. If you need a child care credit, if you need transportation, if you need some other type of benefit, you can absolutely ask for that. You can negotiate that. And so some of the things that my mentees have been most successful in negotiating is healthcare, education, parking, and technology. So, for example, I had a mentee who was caring for an aging parent and needed to negotiate the ability to be able to have a family savings account with the health beneficiary, like the person who manages the company's health care benefits, not just for children, which is the standard, but for an aging parent. She was able to negotiate that in her contract. Education, right? Like, let's say you want to go back to school, you want to earn another degree, you want to earn another credential. You can negotiate an education benefit. Maybe you get them to agree to pay for 2 of your graduate classes each year, or you ask for a $5,000 reimbursable stipend for education, right? You can negotiate that above and beyond what's already included in their education benefits. You can negotiate parking. Increasingly, employers are asking employees to pay for parking. You can negotiate that. If the parking garage is $100 a year, you can ask for that to come out pre-tax, or you can ask that they cover your parking for the first year, or that they cover it totally and that they roll that into a benefit, right? You can ask for that. You have that leverage when you get the job offer. And then technology. Maybe you're Mac girly and you do not want the PCs that everybody else gets, or maybe you want electronic notebook with the magic pen, or maybe you need a DSLR camera for your job. I don't know what it is, but if there is technology that is essential to you doing your work well, then you want to ask for that technology at the point of the job offer, right? You want to ask for that. You want to make that ask. So we talked about negotiating salary. We talked about bonuses. We talked about benefits. Again, we only talked about a couple of benefits, but anything that's in that benefits package, within it and above and beyond it, is negotiable, right? Again, everything is negotiable, and you always want to remember that when you're applying for roles, right? You never want to leave money or benefits on the table. Okay, so we talked about salary. We've talked about bonuses. We talked about benefits. Next is work mode, right? So this is something that's increasingly important to high achieving professionals, is their work mode. They want a flexible work mode. Maybe you want to work fully remote. Maybe you want to work hybrid. Maybe you want to be on site at least 3 days a week so you can connect with your team, right? Whatever that looks like, you can effectively negotiate that. Now, it's important that when you are negotiating work mode, you keep your rationale based on organizational values and outcomes, right? So a lot of times when people ask, oh, can I work hybrid? Can I work remote? They're like, well, I need to do this because my kids' schedule. I need to do this because my spouse, because my parents, because of this, because of that. And they list these very personal rationales for why they want their work mode or work modality change. That is not the way to approach it. That is not the way to approach it. Again, when you are asking or trying to successfully negotiate a change with an employer, or you're asking for something above and beyond what the employer already provides, then you always want to speak to how providing you with the thing that you are asking for is going to benefit the organization. And I know that might seem like crass, or may seem like they don't care about you as an individual. And it's not that they don't, but it's also that they care about their bottom line. They care about their clients, their customers, their outcomes. And so when you're asking for something, you need to tie your ask, you need to tie your request, you need to tie your desire to the rationale that makes sense to the organization, to the rationale that makes sense to the company, right? So that means that you want to say, working remotely or working hybrid 2 days a week will allow me to have a flexible schedule in which I can, connect with our clients, our customers who are in China, or this will allow me to have more evening hours to support, our remote employees, or, this will allow for the flexibility for me to, do some, non-client facing work, and, not have to be doing, that work in front of clients in our audience or in our offices or whatever. So you always want to position your desire to do that based on client or company outcomes. And again, this is something that's negotiable, even for a job that says it's, fully in person, or a job that says it's fully remote. If you do want to be able to, fly in twice a month for team building activities, and it's important for you to connect with your team, even though you're a remote employee, you can make that ask, right? You can make that request. Okay, so we've talked about negotiating salary, bonuses, benefits, work modality. We're going to talk about 3 more things that you can negotiate. Next up is professional development. So I always tell my mentees that on average, you want to negotiate a minimum of 5% of your base salary to professional development. So again, that means if you are applying for a job where you make $100,000 a year, then you want to have a professional development budget of at least $5,000 annually, right? This will allow you to go to conferences. This will allow you to hire an executive coach. This will allow you to buy books, do complete assessments, right? Like whatever kind of things that you might want to do, this will allow you to do them, right? So you definitely want to ask for professional development. My recommendation is to always ask for a minimum of 5% of the base salary, right? So if they offered you a salary of $50,000 and you want to ask for at least $2,500 in professional development budget, right? At least 5% of the base salary. Of course, you can go above that, but it should be the ask. Promotional structure, right? So I know that when you get a new job, you're like, yes, great, I got a new job. Maybe this is a job where you're going to be moving up, or you get a higher level role. You're like, thank goodness, I'm so excited. But you don't want to just think about getting a new role or securing a new role. You want to think about scaling your career long term, which means that when you get a new job, you also want to be thinking about promotional structure, right? What's the next job going to be like? And what's the next job going to be like? And what the next job is going to be like, right? And you want to be thinking about that before you say yes to this job, right? So for example, what does a career ladder look like for you? Is there opportunities to move up? Is there an opportunity to be promoted? Does that promotion come with a salary increase, an increase in team, an increase in responsibilities, an increase in budget, right? You want to ask those questions at the beginning. And then if they don't have an established career ladder, then don't hesitate to say that if I'm, meeting and exceeding expectations in this role, I would like to be considered for a salary increase and a title increase within 18 months or within 2 years or within 3 years, right? You want to be able to advocate for that at the point in which you are accepting the job, right? Before you accept the job, you want to advocate for a career ladder, for a promotional structure, right? If they don't have one that they can describe to you, that they can speak about, then you want to ask about that at the beginning. And again, it's about making the ask. It's not that they're going to say yes to everything that you ask for, but you want to make the ask. And then finally, you want to ask about, or you can negotiate job classification. So especially during this season, I'm seeing a lot of companies who are hiring people on contracts, right? So they're hiring people on a 3-month contract, a 6-month contract, even a year or 2 long contract. And that can be really destabilizing. That can be really upsetting. It's like, I want a stable job. I don't want to be contract. But you can negotiate when you accept a contract. You can negotiate that if I'm meeting or exceeding expectations, as demonstrated by my annual review, that you'll move me from contract to full-time employee within 2 years. Or the contract will be up for discussion for me to transition from a contract to a full-time employee within the first 6 months if I'm meeting exceeding expectations, right? So oftentimes people are really scared of contract work because they're like, it's unstable. I don't want to, my contract is up in 6 months and I don't want to have to look for a new job. But you can always negotiate. You can always negotiate the contract details, or just say, I want to go from contract to full-time employee if I'm meeting exceeding expectations within the first 6 months of the contract, if it's a year-long contract, for example. So that's something you can ask for. And so we talked about successfully negotiating salary, bonuses, benefits, work modality, professional development, promotional structure, and job classification. So there's a million things to negotiate. And remember, everything is negotiable. So then your question might be, okay, Ashley, you told me about all these things that are negotiable. You told me that I can negotiate anything I want. How do I make the ask, right? How do I make the ask? So this is the framework in which you make the ask. So what you're going to do is you're going to receive the job offer, right? You got it in writing. They sent you an email. They sent you a letter or whatever. You review it. And then you write out your counter offer or what you want to negotiate. You write that out and you send it back to them. So the letter would say something like, thanks so much for this opportunity to serve as the business manager with X organization. I'm thrilled that you all see me as the top candidate, and that you're excited for me to join the team. Based on what you shared in the initial job offer, here are the things that I would like to negotiate that would help me feel fully confident in accepting this role. And then you outline everything you want. You outline the 15% salary increase. You outline the fact that you want a PC instead of Max. You outline that you want them to pay for parking. You outline that you want a promotional structure that includes you getting a pay raise and an increase within 2 years if you're meeting or exceeding expectations, right? You outline all of those details in your counter offer, and you send it back to them. You always want to send the counter offer back within, I like to say 48 hours of receiving the initial offer, right? So you don't want to make an employer wait for 3 or 4 or, a week after they give you the offer. Usually employers, by the time that they decide they want you on their team, they're going to want to move pretty quickly. So you want to respond to their offer within 24 to 48 hours, right? So you want to respond to that offer in writing. Never have that conversation. Never make you can have a conversation about the what you're going to negotiate, but you never want to actually negotiate over the phone. You always want to do it in writing, right? So you always want to do that negotiation in writing, and then allow them to respond. I will tell you that, from me doing this 5+ years and the hundreds of women that I've served, I would say on average, about like 40% of my mentees just get a yes. The company will say, yes, great, we'll do whatever you ask us to do, right? Right. So 40% of the time they'll just say, yes, absolutely, sure. Well, you want this, you want that, yes, 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 yes. There is a percentage of time when they'll say no, right? And so I would say about 30% of the time they just say no, right? So it's like, no, we're not doing that. No, we're not doing that. No, we're not doing that, right? And so 40% of the time they say yes. 30% of the time they say no. And then so you might be wondering, well, actually that's only 70%. What happens to the other 30%? And the other 30% is a no but, right? So oftentimes in an organization, you'll ask for a 15% raise on the base salary, right? So they offered you a salary of $100,000 annually. You want 115 at the base. You negotiate for 115, and they may say, no, we can't do 115, but we'll do 110, right? So they said no to your ask, but they said, yes, they can do this. No, we can't do that, but we will do this, right? And so, 70% of the time, the 40, which is yes, and the 30, which is no, but you're going to get what you want or something aligned with what you want, right? This is why you always make the ask. This is why everything is negotiable, because so often women will not ask for things because they say, well, I worry if they're going to say no. And the truth is that only 30% of the time do employers just flat out say, no, we're not doing that. And why is that number so low? It's so low because they've already identified that you're their top candidate. They've already identified that they want you to be a part of their team. They've already identified that you beat out everyone else that applied. So they're trying to figure out, what can we do to get her? So this is why it's always important that you wait to negotiate until after you get the job offer, because you got them right where you want them. They already want you. They already see you as an asset. They already want you to be a part of their team. Now all you have to do is successfully negotiate what you want, right? And because 70% of the time they're either going to say yes or no, but you're going to get what you want or close to what you want, right? And so that is how you successfully negotiate, because everything is negotiable. So feel free to ask any questions you have about negotiating. I always love to talk about this topic because I think it's one that is really interesting, but also really actionable. Like, you can take action on this if you're job searching right now. As those offers are coming in, you can successfully negotiate. So a common question that comes up is like, what if I already got the job? So Ashley, I just met you. I just came across this content. I didn't know I was supposed to negotiate. And I did negotiate when I got the job. So now I'm stuck in a job where I'm overworked and underpaid. What do I do, right? So you can successfully negotiate once you already have the job. You don't have as much leverage, but you can, right? The best way to do this is during annual review time. So if your organization has an annual review where you're annually evaluated, the best time to do it is at annual review. That's the best time to successfully negotiate. However, if annual review already passed and you still didn't negotiate, you can absolutely do it, at any month you want, in a one-on-one with your supervisor. And the way you want to position the negotiation at that point is simply, here's the work that I've been doing. Here's how I've been meeting and exceeding organizational expectations, given how my work is meeting and exceeding organizational expectations. I think I should be compensated at this level, or I think I should be able to switch from a Dell to a MacBook, or I think I should be able to work hybrid or remotely 3 days a week so that I can, meet organizational outcomes, et cetera, right? Let me be clear. If you already have the job, you cannot be asking for more money if you are not exceeding the current expectations of the role. If you were doing mediocre work, why would someone pay you more to do more of that, right? Like, that's not gonna fly. For you would need to be job seeking. But if you are meeting and exceeding expectations in your job, you can absolutely ask for more money, and that's the framework to do it. I know negotiations is like a awkward topic and can be kind of stressful. Some people have successfully negotiated and they're really proud of that. These strategies will help you do it even better and think more comprehensively about negotiating. Some people have never negotiated. They're so nervous and scared of it. So these strategies will teach you how to do it and how to calm some of those nerves and how to do it effectively. So this strategy is comprehensive to anyone who might need it around negotiations. Remember, everything is negotiable. You can also always ask for what you want. I really want to empower you, right? Like, I don't want you to be a shrinking violet. I don't want you to not ask for what you want and what you know you need. I really want to invite you to position yourself as the expert that you are, and to ask for what you need to do important work. As a reminder, I am accepting new mentees right now. So if you're a professional woman who works in corporate, nonprofit, or educational leadership, and you are looking to earn more money and have more impact in your career, then I invite you into mentorship. You can go right to my website to schedule a call with me to learn more about me and my work. My website is mentor-me.org. That's mentor-me.org. And remember, everything is negotiable. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.